He thought he was scamming the cartel. Turns out, he was the only one not in on the plan. Picture this: Arthur Pendleton, not a king, not a knight, just a man with a gift for numbers and a terrible talent for choosing employers. For 10 years, he was the quiet, unassuming accountant for the notorious Serpian cartel. He wasn't a gangster. He was just the guy who made sure their blood money was clean enough to spend on yachts and private islands. He saw everything, heard everything, and logged it all in his pristine ledgers. He knew where the bodies were buried, both literally and financially, but the glamour, if you could even call it that, had worn off. The constant paranoia, the cold sweat, every time a black SUV slowed down near his house. The dead-eyed stares from men who wouldn't hesitate to balance a different kind of account with a single bullet. Arthur was turning 50. He didn't want a gold watch from the cartel. He wanted to see 51. So, he devised a plan, a brilliant, intricate, and utterly insane plan. He would sell his own kidnapping. The idea was beautiful in its simplicity. He would orchestrate his own abduction, make it look like a rival gang was squeezing the Serpian task for information, and then, in the chaos, he'd vanish. He had been siphoning off small, untraceable amounts for years, building a nest egg in a dozen offshore accounts. This kidnapping would be his final performance, the grand finale that allowed him to disappear with the money and start a new life as Mr. Nobody on some sun-drenched, extradition-free beach. He found the right people for the job. A crew of low-level freelancers who were hungry and, more importantly, not connected to the Serpian test. He met their leader, a man who called himself Rico, in a grimy warehouse that smelled of rust and desperation. Arthur laid out the plan, the timeline, the fake ransom demands. He'd paid them a handsome fee up front and promised them a cut of the ransom that would never actually be paid. Rico grinned, showing a gold tooth. He loved the audacity. The deal was struck. The night of the kidnapping went off without a hitch. A black van, a burlap sack over his head, the convincing but not too brutal roughing up. Arthur played his part perfectly, screaming in terror as they dragged him from his luxury sedan. He was taken to a secluded, dusty safe house in the middle of nowhere. Chained to a chair in a damp basement, he felt a surge of exhilaration. Phase 1 was complete. He was officially a victim. For 3 days, he sat in that chair, rehearsing his lines, waiting for the call he had scripted himself. He'd feed his kidnappers just enough useless information to make it look good for the cartel's security cameras, which he knew were monitoring the ransom drop. But on the 4th day, something changed. The atmosphere in the house shifted. The usual gruff chatter from upstairs was replaced by hushed, tense whispers. Rico came down the stairs, his face unreadable. He wasn't smiling anymore. Key pulled up a chair and sat in front of Arthur, just staring. The silence was heavier than the chains on Arthur's wrists. Finally, Rico spoke. "You're a clever man, Arthur, a real planner, but you made one mistake." Arthur's heart hammered against his ribs. "What mistake?" Rico leaned in close, his voice a low growl. "You assumed you were the only one with the plan." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone, swiping through it before turning the screen to Arthur. On the screen was a picture. It was Arthur's wife, Beatrice, smiling. She was standing next to Rico, her arm linked through his, in front of that very same grimy warehouse where Arthur had hired him. The timestamp on the photo was from a week before Arthur had even made contact. The world tilted on its axis. The blood drained from Arthur's face, a cold dread washing over him that was far more terrifying than any staged abduction. What? What is this?" he stammered. Rico chuckled, a dark, humorless sound that echoed in a small room. "This, my friend, is what we call a pre-existing contract. Your lovely wife, Beatrice. She came to us first. Seems she got tired of waiting for the cartel to retire you. She wanted to speed up the process of becoming a wealthy widow. She hired us to make you disappear permanently." Arthur stared at the photo, his mind racing. trying to connect the dots. Beatrice, his quiet, garden-loving wife. The one who complained about his long hours, but never about the diamond bracelets. The one who he thought was blissfully unaware of the true nature of his work. It was all a lie. The concerned phone calls, the tearful pleas he imagined she was making. All a performance. She paid us double what you offered, Rico continued, enjoying the look of utter devastation on Arthur's face. The plan was simple. We take you, get a nice little bonus from the cartel's ransom, and then we finish the job. Your wife gets the insurance money, the sympathy, and all those little accounts you thought you hid so well. She gave us the numbers, by the way. Very helpful of her. Arthur felt the walls of the basement closing in. He wasn't the puppet master. He was the puppet, and everyone his kidnappers, his wife, was pulling the strings. He had walked willingly into his own execution. The irony was so thick, it was suffocating. He was going to be murdered by the very people he hired to save himself, on the orders of the woman he was trying to escape to. Panic gave way to a strange, cold clarity. He was a numbers man, an accountant. This was just a new kind of ledger, one of life and death. He had one asset left, his knowledge, the secrets buried in the Serpientes books, secrets that could topple the entire organization. Secrets that could be worth more than his wife's contract. He looked Rico straight in the eye. The fear was gone, replaced by the steely resolve of a cornered animal. She's playing you, Arthur said, his voice steady. Rico raised an eyebrow. Is that so? You kill me. The cartel will never stop looking for you. They don't care about me, but they care about their money and their secrets. They'll hunt you to the ends of the earth. But Beatrice, she'll be on a beach, sipping champagne, and you'll be a loose end. What do you think she does with loose ends? A flicker of doubt crossed Rico's face. Arthur pressed his advantage. She knows you exist. She knows what you've done. You are her liability. The moment you get your money, you're a dead man walking. He let that sink in. But there's another way. A better deal. I'm listening, Rico said, leaning back, intrigued. You don't kill me, Arthur explained, the new plan forming in his mind, faster and more daring than his first one. You help me, we stage my death. A convincing one. Something the cartel will buy, something that satisfies my wife's contract. You get your money from her, and I give you something far more valuable. And what's that? A new identity for every single one of your crew. Untraceable passports, clean bank accounts, a complete digital wipe, a fresh start anywhere in the world, and a key to one of the Serpientes' emergency caches. 10 million, cash, more than you'd ever see from her or the ransom. Rico was silent for a long time, the gears turning behind his eyes. He was a criminal, but he was also a businessman. He was weighing risk versus reward. On one hand, a simple murder contract from a desperate housewife. On the other, a high-stakes partnership with the man who held all the cards. You helped me disappear for good, Arthur said, his voice dropping to a whisper. And I'll make you all ghosts, rich ghosts. The proposition hung in the air, a complex equation of greed, survival, and betrayal. Arthur Pendleton, the crime accountant, had just made the most important pitch of his life. He wasn't selling his kidnapping anymore. He was selling his resurrection. Now, he just had to pray that this time his buyer was on his side. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. See you in the next video.